Icy boots of our ambitions, pigments of our imagination.
Welcome back. This morning on the Morning Edition, we are joined by Deputy Chief Secretary and Secretary of Health, Dr. Faith Brebner, as Tobago enters a pivotal moment ahead of the 2026 THA election on January 12th. Her appearance comes amid new developments on the island's political landscape with the Elections and Boundaries Commission announcing new demarcations. All right, so let's get straight into it. Good morning to you, Dr. Brebner, and welcome to the Morning Edition. We are delighted to have you.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Good morning to all that's hearing my voice, that's seeing me. It's a wonderful day. I'm happy to be here.
Now, you are campaigning for a second consecutive term in office after a very public fallout with the PDP and the formation of the TPP, right? Now we have Watson Duke, the political leader of the PDP, announcing that he and his party will be giving full support to the TPP. How do you reconcile this new unity with the very public, acrimonious falling out that preceded it?
Certainly. So the Tobago People's Party has always said that we are a party of the competent and the willing. We have always said that we needed the support of all and sundry. As a matter of fact, when we went into the general election of 2025, we were calling on the 60,000 strong of us. The population of Tobago is roughly 60,000 people. That's where that came from. We were calling on the 60,000 strong to be a part of this movement to continue building Tobago. So we welcome every single person. We welcome every single organization. We welcome every single entity rallying around us to get us over this finish line. As you said, we had a 4-year period where we had a party that was not the other party running the Tobago House of Assembly. I think even though it was a tumultuous 4 years, we actually were able to accomplish quite a bit. And we are asking all of Tobago, including the PDP, to come with us to continue building this island that we have. So we are very, very thankful, and we are very welcoming of Mr. Duke and his team to come be a part of this process.
Okay. Can you shed some light as to what is the specifics of this new arrangement? More specifically as well, can you say what role Watson Duke will play in the new TPP's administration if the TPP were to regain office?
So, as you know, I listened to the press conference yesterday, and Mr. Duke was very, very clear that he and his supporters are going to support the TPP in the upcoming election. He was also asked multiple times about specifics, and he was very, very clear about where he and his party stood. They are going to support the TPP in the election, and that is really as far as we are right now. We are welcoming the support of every single human being, because remember, elections are won on election day. Elections are won by individuals going into that little box and putting their X. And in this case, we are telling you to put your X next to the anchor. So that is what we are asking everyone to do, and that is what Mr. Duke has committed to do, and that is what we are thanking. I am thanking publicly the PDP for doing, committing to going on election day, to leading up to election day, and to going on election day and putting the X next to the anchor. Whatever happens after that, whether we win or not, we hope we will win. We will build out the executive for the Tobago House of Assembly. That is the best executive to run the island and to run the affairs of that. And we, of course, as we've always said, the competent and the willing, and that means getting the best people. We'll see how that goes at the end after the 12th. So on the 13th, we will see how that goes.
So there. you have not committed at all to what role Watson Duke may play, but would he be part of this new executive as you talk about?
So, you can ask that question a million different ways, a million different times. The answer is going to be exactly the same. The man was quite clear yesterday in what he was going, what he is willing to do, and we are very happy about that.
Let's talk about this remerger. Is it a formal arrangement? Is it a temporary electoral pact? What really it is?
So you're asking the same question again in a yet another way.
You're very astute.
And believe me, when we say that Tobago, we have been in a place where development has been stymied for quite a while. We've been in a place where the People's National Movement has run the island. And as coming in, for example, as Secretary with responsibility for health, wellness, and social protection, I was surprised at the number of things we've had to do following their reign. So we are just at this point now where we need everybody who wants to be a part of this movement. Let me give you an example. I had a meeting in my district last week, and when I got there, one of the individuals who touched me, and she didn't have on a jersey, but she said to me, "A crossover," and I was like, "Thank you." I didn't even notice that was you standing there, because I didn't expect you to be standing there. But she said a crossover because, showing that they are appreciative of what we've done over the last 4 years. And even those who did not support us before are willing to support us now to continue on that trajectory of good Tobago-specific development. And that is what we are aiming for. We want all and sundry to be a part of that.
All right. So let me ask you, the TPP is seeking a renewal of its mandate emerging out of the PDP. Yeah? Let's talk about some of the achievements. So it's the major achievement of this administration, the TPP. What do you consider to be the single most, the highest achievement of the TPP that you feel that the electorate in Tobago should give you another term in office?
So I do not even know that we can say we have a single biggest achievement. We have multiple achievements. If you look at infrastructure, for example, this is probably the first time you can drive in Tobago over the last 20 or so years and feel like you are driving outside of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is because of the volume of infrastructural work, the volume, that road and the roundabouts that we were able to accomplish over the last 4 years under the division with responsibility for infrastructure. That is the road in the back. I'm not sure if you've been to Tobago recently, leading to the new airport. Mm-hmm. That is a huge accomplishment that we've been able to do over the last 4 years. If you go to education has been able to do school repairs in volumes that is significantly larger than even when we compare what is happening in Trinidad. But let's look at the human part of it. In the division with responsibility for education, they have been able to pay increments, to pay gratuities, to pay that kind of outstanding monies to teachers. Even when you look at students, we have a situation where we are allocated $500,000 every year for scholarships for students. At the end of the financial year, I do not know where the Secretary finds the money from, but we end up spending millions of dollars in the same effort to give scholarships to our students. When you look at health, which is the division I am responsible for, we have been able to operationalize the Roxborough Hospital in a way that it was simply a building before, that those who built it, they built it, but it was not operationalized at all. We were able to do that. We've been able to practically clear a cataract backlog, where we've done over 2,000 cataract surgeries for people of Tobago. So when I say I can't think of a single thing that may be the greatest thing, because if you ask every secretary or every assistant secretary, they could highlight something within their division that was critical for them that we see as major accomplishments for the island. And this is why we're asking Tobago to give us another opportunity to continue to build on that good work.
Let's look at the other side of that coin. The minority leader has been very vocal about the lack of growth in the tourism sector, in the areas of business. Where do you think, no administration is perfect, and I'm sure you would agree that your administration has fallen short perhaps in some areas? You agree,
Yes.
you agree with that? Yeah. What are some of those areas and that were critical, and that you've and what steps is your administration, new administration, will take to address those areas that you've fallen short in?
But you know, it is passing strange that the minority leader would be the one to speak about our faults when his party was the party in power for 21 years before we came into being. You know, his party was the one responsible for developing Tobago, and for 21 years they did not do the things that they somehow miraculously expected us to do in 4 years. So you know, the math's not mathsing. 21 years versus 4 years, they definitely failed on all of those accounts, and somehow expect us to have been successful to, one, fix what they have left and then build on that. And let me give you an example. When we came into the executive, we recognized that there was a debt of close to $1 billion left by the former administration. And when we looked at it, that debt of close to $1 billion was racked up primarily in the period the year before, in 2021, where they had a holdover government, where the Executive Council, led by the then Ansel Dennis, was doing whatever they wished, just handing out contracts. And that led us into realizing that they were mismanaging this island so badly that we had to go into a full audit of those contracts. As a matter of fact, there are bills that were submitted to contractors who were just given letters that were written simply, not even by an administrator, somebody saying, here, to my friend, go do this road, no specs, nothing. And then when we got the bill, we realized, but wait, that road don't exist. When we looked at the auditing of those bills, we realized those roads did not actually exist. So it is strange that the minority leader could say anything about what we've been able to do, given the amount of work we have put in and given the time that we've been able to do those things for. I would challenge the minority leader, and I would challenge anyone to compare 4 years under the Tobago People's Party with 4 years under the PNM for any 4-year period, and we will have come out ahead leaps and bounds compared to what they've been able to do.
That's a very bold challenge. As we are talking about shortfalls, yesterday, right here on the morning edition, we spoke with a very significant figure from Tobago, Dr. Vanus James. I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. James, and he would have produced a paper recently. In his paper, he spoke about under-education and under-capitalization, specifically, tailored for Tobago. He talked about that in his paper. He indicated that Tobago would have fallen behind Trinidad significantly, some 68%, as it relates to education, and 19 years behind Trinidad. I'm not too sure if you've been able to see that paper, but how do you respond to those challenges, to those issues?
Well, certainly. So I have not been, I did not see that paper, so I'm not sure what those figures refer to. But if you're talking about 19 years behind, again, you are talking about the fact that 19 years later, the TPP has been here for 4 years trying to in essence, create a baseline and then jumping forward. But as you're talking about education, one of the things that we've actually been able to do, and the aim is to actually roll it out into implementation, is what we call a Tobago-centric curriculum. So under the Tobago House of Assembly Act, we are responsible, as in the THA is responsible for education, for the implementation of education, and we're also responsible for curriculum. And the Secretary with responsibility for education, the Secretary Zia Hackett, over the last couple of years, have actually led a group of very competent people to create what we call a Tobago-centric curriculum, which in essence, we looked at all of the things that were deficient in the regular curriculum to identify what would lift it and what would bring it into this century, and what will ensure that we inject some Tobago-specific culture and history and so forth into it. And we are hoping to start to roll that out very shortly. So again, we are building on the deficiencies that were left for quite a long time.
Actually, I should have been a little clearer. He actually, in his paper, he actually said that since the TPP came into office, some 3 years, that Tobago dropped some 19 years behind. Yeah, you will have to look at that paper, and would have fallen from 62% as it relates to employed persons in Tobago with degrees from in 3 years to 68%, from some 62% to 68%. So I think you might want to look at those figures to see what they're really telling you and about. But let me ask. In his paper, he talked about.
But let me just. Okay, so no, I have not seen that paper, and it is passing strange that those figures would be reported. But one of the things that I am able to say is that we have actually had, and I can't remember the specific number right now. But when you look at the unemployment rate under the Tobago People's Party, it has actually dropped significantly compared to the periods before us. So, if we are looking at numbers, we need to look at all of the numbers holistically, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the brain drain. Tobago has always been impacted by that. Trinidad and Tobago, by extension. Is that still an issue in Tobago? And
it
what
is
steps,
an issue.
And what steps, if you go back into office, what steps will you be taking to address that issue?
So it is still an issue, and let me explain why it still is an issue. It's an issue because the private sector in Tobago was in our mind purposely dismantled during the periods before we became the executive. If you look at what happens in our sister island, Trinidad, the government of Trinidad and Tobago hires quite a number of people. But if you recognize, the private sector is the entity that really is able to pull in quite a number of the individuals with the specific skills, higher level training, and so forth. And that is the sector that has been broken, was dismantled purposely, I think, in Tobago. What we've been doing is actually trying to build the private sector, and trying to build the private sector includes getting stuff like additional grants, doing the additional training. We just were able to get what we call the Tobago Development Fund, which is actually in essence the Tobago House of Assembly pooling its resources and doing something like a development bank so that businesses can get that kind of funding easier than they've been able to get it with the traditional commercial banks, because that's one of the problems that we are hearing businesses saying all the time, that they're having a very hard time getting loans from the banks and so forth with those stipulations. We've also been able to use a process where once you make the requirement to get a loan from a bank, you can actually come back to the Tobago House of Assembly and we will provide the security, we will provide the guarantee for that loan, given that you've met all of the other criteria to get the loan from the bank. So those are things that we've actually been doing to try to build the private sector, because we recognize that's part of the problem with the brain drain that we are seeing.
Let's talk about the Autonomy Bill and autonomy for Tobago. Securing self-government for Tobago was a foundational promise of your administration. Can you tell us clearly the strategic roadmap that your new administration will embark upon in achieving autonomy for Tobago and a realistic timeline by which that can be achieved?
Certainly. So if you recognize, autonomy for Tobago has been an issue that we have been speaking about. We recognize, though, that autonomy for Tobago is something that the People's National Movement have absolutely never moved the needle on. As a matter of fact, if you go back to all of the times where the Tobago House of Assembly was able to move itself, where the Tobago House of Assembly was created in one instance, and then when it was able to move is when the People's National Movement was not the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And what we are experiencing now is a level of respect with the government of Trinidad and Tobago for the Tobago House of Assembly that we had not experienced in the previous administration of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Where am I going with this? The autonomy that is required for Tobago is one that needs to be dealt with, the legal part of it needs to be dealt with in the Parliament. And the Parliament only has, at this point, 2 members from the Tobago People's Party, and the other members are from the other parties. What we are working on, though, is ensuring that the bills that are placed before the Parliament are bills that actually represent what the people of Tobago want. And let me explain that. Just before the former Chief Secretary, Mr. Orville London, demitted office in 2016, I think it was, he actually submitted a document, 2 documents to the Parliament as it relates to this autonomy thing. What we have been saying is we need to even go back to that document. So we're not even saying bills that our TPP administration submitted. We're talking about bills that the PNM submitted back then. When those bills were taken to the Parliament or I don't know who, made several significant changes to those bills, and because of those changes, we did not agree with those bills going forward because they did not truly represent what, for example, Mr. Orville London put forward. Why am I saying that? We need to have a group of people who are able to collectively work with each other, having a level of respect and understanding of the rules and responsibilities of each other to move this thing forward. I think we are finally at a place where the level of respect and understanding is there with this new government of Trinidad and Tobago. And because of that, the conversations with the Attorney General, for example, have actually begun to talk through what are, on one side, what are some of the small changes that we can make to the current Tobago House of Assembly Act to improve the level of autonomy that we have right now, but also what are some of the larger changes we need to make to the larger document to move that towards the Parliament. And having those kinds of honest and fair conversations and interactions is what will get us there. We are finally at a point now where we think we are having those kinds of fair and honest conversations. So I am saying I can't give you a timeline. And if you know me, if you know any of the interviews I have done, I don't give timelines because I know how fluid these things are. I know how fluid these things are. But we are finally at the point where it actually seems like a reality for us now.
It could very well happen should the TPP get a new term in office. It could very well happen within the next new term, if you get a new term.
We firmly believe that it will.
Yes. Listen, we just have a few more minutes again, and I want to talk about the Chief Secretary's announcement about a 20-year development plan for Tobago. How is it with the TPP? Should it get back into, should it get back into office? How would
when we get back into office?
I can't speak like that. But should you get back into office, how will the TPP ensure that this 20-year development plan is insulated from political change?
So one of the things that is different about this 20-year plan is how this 20-year plan is being developed. Usually strategic plans are developed by some third entity that comes in, looks at what's happening, and then writes a document and gives it to you. This strategic planning framework was actually designed to have the people who are on the ground, to have the public servants, to have the general public be a part of the development of it. And when you do it that way, it ensures that the whoever wins or whoever's in charge or whatever the political changes are, that will not influence it, because of course it is the people on the ground who developed it and who are working with it to make it a reality. So I hope that we are here, as in the TPP is here, over the next couple cycles to see it through. But because of how the framework was developed, we're hoping that if any other political organization comes in, they will see merit in how it was developed and what was developed to keep working with it. Dr.
Brebner, we have to leave it there. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you very much, and best wishes to you and the Tobago People's Party.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, stay with us, Trinidad and Tobago. We will be back. It's time to take a break. Let's take a look at this beautiful and thorium plan submitted by Melville Dumore.